Fire it up like an old N1 starfighter.
Hey. No spoilers, even though we do, the
We are
spoilers
talking
tag is on.
Where's my fire spray? Warship. Oh, sorry.
You've got the.
Well, look,
We gotta start censoring Slave One. We gotta do like a little asterisk where the A is or something.
Right.
Yeah, the new ship is going to be called the Colonizer. No, so welcome everyone to What If He Doesn't Survive?
Yes.
We're talking about the season 3 premiere of The Mandalorian. This is so exciting, everybody.
Yeah,
I was right.
Cool that they decided to give it to us early. Like they didn't give us any information, and we just jumped straight in.
I'm just happy that I was right last week when I predicted that they were so tired of Boba Fett being a terrible show they were going to cut it short by a couple episodes.
It took a woman to make this show better.
You know what? She directed Bryce Dallas Howard. Right. Well, Bryce Dallas Howard directed a couple episodes of Mandalorian, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is her return.
Yeah, I couldn't recall if she had done Mandalorian or some like the other Marvel shows or what, but yeah, let's just. Okay, I'm going to start off with.
We're talking spoilers. Hey.
Yeah, well, I wanted to lead off with that. What? But David, you're wearing the Jawa hat.
That's right. Furry guy.
Yeah. So this is the Boba Fett Book Club, Chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian. Now that is a hell of a title because Boba Fett's, aside from the flashback or the previously on segment at the beginning and references at the very end of the episode by Fennec Shand, Boba Fett's not in the episode. And I think people are losing their minds on the internet because this, as people have been saying for a long time, The Mandalorian is more of the Boba Fett show that we wanted to see than the Boba Fett show that we got.
People get old and soft. Believe me, I know.
Not you, David. Not you.
Sorry.
But so, yeah, first of all, I want to introduce ourselves. I am Ian Simmons of Kicking the Seat. We have Annie Banks of Chuckload of Comics and MovieWeb, and I'm going to link down below to an article that you wrote earlier this week, Annie, or at least came out earlier this week, defending Star Wars The Last Jedi. Quite a fun read, and one that people who are no strangers to this show know that I am a defender of The Last Jedi and a big critic of it. David Fowley of Keeping It Real. Yes. Welcome. I didn't think this was possible, that I would be sitting here raving about an episode of the Book of Boba Fett, but we're about to get into it. I think it's kind of cheating though, because this episode just highlights why the Book of Boba Fett itself as a show is not that great, because it doesn't have Mando in it or his hijinks. This isn't like the people, and I know this show is written by Jon Favreau and probably some other staff writers who contribute to creating the tone of the Book of Boba Fett, but this is such a Mandalorian episode that it just draws a huge contrast. It's not like, hey, we're going to put Mando into our world. No, it's like, we're going to interrupt our world to bring you Mandalorian. It's kind of like watching The Rise of Skywalker, and in the middle of it, you get the first half hour of A New Hope. Like, no, this is what I'd rather be watching.
Well, I mean, it definitely feels different because it's the first episode without the title character. So,
yeah,
and we don't miss him. So,
and who would have thought we would be saying that about Boba Fett? He wasn't in his own show, and that was kind of okay.
And that's the thing about it, though. Like, I'm glad you guys are both saying this, and it's something that the three of us can agree upon here. Where I was I kind of forgot that the show was based on the lore behind Boba Fett or Boba Fett himself. And I think that his absence kind of contributes to the absence of the character in these grand stretches of Star Wars canon. You want to go, where is he? I need to see him, but I don't want to see him. And I know he's out there somewhere. And I think that contributes more to that brooding and mysterious figure that a lot of people have become comfortable with identifying Boba Fett as, where he's absent from his own storyline. And again, you were totally right. This felt like watching an episode of The Mandalorian. Is so drastically shifted. But like I told Ian this before we went live. I stayed up because I didn't want to think about potentially having this exciting moment spoiled the exciting episode in general spoiled. You know, I was just really looking forward to seeing what would happen. And at that minute mark where you see the Mandalorian push through the curtain, I'm like, oh my god, okay, this is what I've been waiting for. You know, this is what I have been looking forward to. And I kind of felt bad in that instance because I felt bad because I screamed at 2 in the morning and my roommates, the walls are paper thin. I was like, oh,
Wow.
I made a noise, and one of my roommates is a big Mando fan. The other one doesn't know what the fuck Star Wars is.
Wow.
Yeah.
Time
so
for an
they're
intervention.
very different people, but I was like, oh my god! And I like did this, and I like would just like sat quietly for the rest of the episode. I don't like. It took me a few seconds after that really excitable, probably caffeine fueled moment of reaction. I was like, wait. Why didn't I react like that when we saw Boba Fett stretch his hand through the Sarlacc pit? Why? Where was that energy?
Well, it's because I think if the first thing we'd seen in the Book of Boba Fett, and we've spent the last 4 episodes practically like writing and discussing the better versions of the show that we wanted to see. But honestly, if they just panned across that wreckage and seen his hand come out, and that was like the only thing, and there was still some mystery left to it, we've been like, oh my god, he's back.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of this thing of like,
on.
oh, he's pulling an oxygen hose out of a stormtrooper's
and
face
then revisit it.
Right. Like it's just whatever. But I was skeptical for the first, maybe 5 minutes of the show, because I'm like, all right, here he is. He's showing up. I don't trust this version of Jon Favreau not to have him, show up and then he just like gets called upon to just be in the Boba Fett show and get sucked into that whirlwind of mediocrity. The entire episode, not only does it take place on different planets or different in space environments, is why I'm only drinking a half shot of blue milk, because we did get back to Tatooine, but it made Tatooine cool. I kind of groaned when, a little after the halfway mark, we're flying back to Tatooine to go to Mos Eisley. And then we
flights to Tatooine.
Yes. And we catch up with Amy Sedaris. I'm like, okay, this is kind of cute. But oh my God, the second half of the episode is just as special and cool and full of great ideas as the first episode. It keeps getting better and better almost by the minute. I'm like, where the hell has this been for the last month?
And what's interesting too is, we get those special moments on Tatooine, and you're thinking, well, why is this? We're on Tatooine. We've been making fun of Tatooine. Why is this episode, or this traveling with Mando and company on Tatooine, why is that much better than Tatooine we've been subjected to earlier, for the rest of the show?
What do you have any theories?
Yeah, well, I mean, just
Is that too big of a question for you? Did you think it was going to stop there?
Yeah, a lot of questions there.
What's your hypothesis?
Kind of going back on Amy's, I didn't expect Amy Sedaris to show up.
Yeah,
and I think that there was a time where she kind of overstayed her welcome.
Right,
a little bit too much screen time hanging out with her, rebuilding the ship. Which great throwback, awesome callback to the prequels and all of that good stuff. But at the same time, I'm like, oh sweet, Amy Sedaris. She's quirky and she's fun and she's full of energy.
I think it's a nice breather. I mean, I think that what Mando does so well is the whole body language of the character, and he's...
Yeah, what's stopping you as a man from just wearing armor?
I don't know.
What is... Yeah, why can't we just...
Lack of muscle.
Yeah. You don't need muscle. The armor will hide it.
That's the purpose.
No, I mean, just to walk around in it. I put it on. I'm like, I'm not getting out of this chair.
I'd wear armor. Are we segueing here? I'd wear armor, sure.
Sure. But no, and we'll get to some comments because they're loading up. Well,
do we have any?
Yes, a few. Sejua preloaded the show, which is awesome to see. But wait a second. Mike is in the comments now saying he needs a StreamYard link. Did he not get a link to this?
I like when comments about it there.
Well, okay. All right, hold on. You guys talk amongst yourselves. I'm going to try and handle this mic situation. I don't know what happened.
But yeah, I think that, being able to find that very special element that the Mandalorian had about it and kind of incorporate it into it I was a little skeptical, like Ian mentioned earlier in the show, where they were like, I'm like, oh, okay, like, how are they going to do this? Is this going to be a very Mando dominated episode? And if they're going to let him dominate the episode, is it going to take away from everything that has been established? Because this isn't his show. He's just there having fun. You know, and I was a little bit anxious about that in the beginning, up at, like, until maybe like the 20-minute mark, 30-minute mark. And I was like, okay, how are they going to proceed with this? How are they going to go about it? Is it going to totally derail? And I think that Fennec Shand being that binding element is really nice, because we you know, this is a familiar face for the both of them. There's not a lot of skepticism. There's not a lot of hostility or agitation. I think that seeing Mando with the Darksaber and struggling against the Darksaber and really just bringing back the armor, that was another character I didn't expect to see again. You know, I was just like, oh, there she is. That's neat.
I love their whole section at, like, the belly of the ship, where can't just anybody just fall off and just
he does. He
gets sucked up. I love their whole section at, like, the.
Let's see.
Huh?
Hey, Mike.
Oh, hey, yeah, sorry. Yeah, I didn't see the episode 5 link. I just saw the episode 4 one.
Yeah, I checked the email. You were on it, but you're here. We're good.
Go back and do it again, so you know next time.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
Book of Boba
hey everybody, welcome to the Boba Fett Book Club. No, okay. All right. So we're gonna take a detour here and get back. I'm sorry, I was distracted.
It's comment time, folks.
Yes, we're gonna talk comments. We're gonna read some comments from Sajiwa. Let's see. Boba Fett is 5 is a million times better than the other 4 eps because it's well directed, well staged, put together show. Let BDH, Bryce Dallas Howard, direct all the Star Wars shows. Yes, her 3 eps so far are great. Did she direct she directed the Bo-Katan episode for Mando, right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the one, I think her first one was that one in the forest with the adepts.
Oh, right. I remember that. Yeah, that was good too. Yeah, just let her do it. Let's see. That's an example of director making a difference, kids. Also, it seems like they just took a Mando up and posted that up instead of a new Boba Fett. Probably got tired of the criticism. Yeah, there's a Phantom episode 5 of Boba Fett floating out there somewhere. Like, no, just forget it. We'll put the title on it. That's it. Bryce Dallas Howard made sure the story flows well. Probably was storyboarded, added in nice details like the dragon beast in the morning insert shot, and made sure the action was realistic. Very much so. Anyway, good example of good direction, overall responsibility for the ep in that ep. Boba Fett ep 5. Good work, Bryce Dallas Howard. Yes, we will pass that on to you. Bryce Dallas Howard, Miss Dallas Howard, you're probably watching this show right now or in the future. Totally. So yes, we all share that. Congratulations, and please come back. All right, so Elliot, the Mandalorian was flying commercial. He was on Star Trek.
It's true. It's pretty much true. Those sets look very much like.
It was exactly.
Yeah,
like
yeah. So I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's going to be very similar to, say, Galaxy Tours or whatever, that 2-night overnight stay thing.
So
like the 5 grand hotel.
What's that, Mike?
So Martin Scorsese was right about comic book movies being a amusement park ride. No, just
this technically isn't a comic book movie, but you're close enough. Although there are Star Wars comics, so yes, you are right.
I mean, a Woody Allen movie is like going to Coney Island.
Yeah, it's like let's not even get into that guy. All right,
that was like a Woody Walken there, David. I like that. Okay, so hence I shall say again, Book of Boba is just filler. Mark, I am, I do not disagree. Except for this episode. This is a standout. I do want to talk about the other F word, which I believe is a hyphenate.
Panic? Oh.
No. Fan service.
Annie,
before we got on live here, you were mentioning that you were curious as to what I thought of this episode because you picked up astutely that I do not like fan service in general. That's because I don't think it's often very well done.
Unless it's your fan. Oh, sorry.
No, yeah, when I'm having my fan serviced, I love it because it's like, I'm so hot and then it's finally cooling off. The blade's all going full speed. No, fan service, the kind I don't usually respond to is just like, we're going to throw out a reference to something that, 90% of the people who are watching this get. We're going to treat it as if it's something special. And occasionally, or some random thing. So like Captain America saying, I get that reference, or the Leo DiCaprio meme from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where he's like pointing at the television, like, I get that. It's just to say, hey, are you paying attention? It's almost like a wake up, an alarm to make sure people are still tuned in.
Yeah.
Hold on a second. We have
Hello from Argentina.
Yeah. Okay. Everyone loved this because it was not a Book of Boba Fett episode. That's correct.
Petty, not the petty.
Petty, yes. Hello from Argentina. Hello, welcome.
Wow.
What did you think?
Colorado.
Yeah, Argentina. What do you think? What do you think of the new Boba Fett?
I wonder how internationally this is perceived compared to North American perception and
Yeah, I don't
Western
know.
media. Like if I was
I would feel
across the
the same.
hemisphere.
I mean, I think so far it's just gotten kind of the same kind of mediocre praise, I guess.
Yeah.
I think this, if I had to guess, this is let's see, the best until now.
Hey.
I think he's speaking for Argentina.
There you go.
Thank you for speaking on the behalf of the entire nation of Argentina.
That's right.
Thank you.
Awesome. Well, okay. So I think I want to get back to this this fan service idea, and I will be interrupting every once in a while for comments, even if it is my own train of thought. Yes, Star Tours commercials.
Star Tours.
Those who are tuning in, feel free to jump in the chat if you have any questions or comments or stuff you want us to talk about. We'll do that here. But okay, the thing I loved, and I loved this episode. It is one of the best Star Wars things that I've seen. In my entire life as a Star Wars fan. The fan service, I think, works so well because it drops in these little tidbits that, yeah, people will recognize, but it puts them in largely a different context and begs you to imagine what the possibilities are for what you're seeing. Like is it the K2SO? Was that the droid that Alan Tudyk voiced in Rogue One? We see as the planet of Mandalore is bombed, into oblivion. We see these K2SO units going in and clearing out, after the bombers come in, there was to make sure there's no survivors.
And probots.
Probots?
Yeah, they were in the sky with the lights.
Oh, nice.
It's cool.
Here's a great illustration of what good fan service is and what bad fan service could have been. The N1 Starfighter. Those are those sleek kind of Naboo ships that we saw all over episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Amy Sedaris' character, who I can never remember her name. Do you remember?
Omadi? Pelimoto.
Okay. Hello, Moto. She was fixing. She had promised Mando that she was going to help find a replacement ship for the Razor Crest. She finds an N1 Starfighter.
No, hey, do you know why they call it the Razor Crest?
Because it's sharp, got sharp teeth. I don't know why.
Because it gets Mando through a lot of close shaves.
It's always close.
Is that a dad joke or is that real?
It's a bad joke. It's also awesome.
Okay, continue.
No, I'm just saying. Sorry. Thanks for joining us, Annie. We're gonna let someone else.
I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Pelimoto. Pelimoto.
For me, Sejua, it's your time to shine.
Yeah, come on, Sejua, come on up. I want to hear about the very average actress Florence Pugh.
Hey, Argentina thinks it's a good joke.
Well,
ja.
There you go.
I thought for a second that was Russian porn again. All right.
Nice. Okay.
So we're going back to we have like the pod racing-esque shit going on.
Yes, and we'll get back to Elliot's comment too.
I was a pod racer instead that flew through space. Like it was cool how they built that ship, but it spent like 20 minutes with Amy Sedaris just screaming at the camera.
It was nice to have her back after dealing with such kind of flat acting.
That's I think the other key to this show is there was so much personality on display. When she's chasing that little rat thing around the her shop in the beginning, it's like, yeah, okay. But I think this is the most I've enjoyed her character in the entire time we've seen her, because we get more of a sense of what her life is like on this planet. She said she dated a Jawa and they're very, very furry, and then she made this like almost like a trauma sense memory. She went, I'm like, wow.
But
Yeah. But no, I liked the rebuilding of the N1, but here's what I'm getting about fan service. Fan service, the easy fan service is, look, hey, it's the N1 and the Queen of Naboo. She commissioned these ships. Yes, everyone, you remember the Phantom Menace, and a lot of people are like, we're trying to forget. Great fan services, taking the N1, something that we're familiar with, and finding a new purpose for it. This is going to be the Mandalorian's new bounty hunting ship. It's going to look a bit different. It's going to function different. You're going to kind of open it up, right, David?
I have an issue with that.
Where's he going to put his captives?
I think he looks awesome. Yes.
Yes.
I think he looks awesome in that ship, and man, I wouldn't mind that. It's like something a middle-aged, white suburban guy will buy,
So
because he wants to branch out. And yes, okay. Anyway,
Pedro Pascal isn't.
He's not white, but okay.
I mean, middle.
Yeah. Nor is he suburban.
We checked off most of the boxes.
The Lake Forest guy driving around.
But I mean, who wouldn't want to, like, that whole sequence towards the end when he's test flying it? I'm like, guys, how many test flying scenes have we seen in TV and movies?
Yeah.
But I think it's just because, like, especially being a Star Wars fan and growing up with Star Wars, that's how I always imagined, or dreamed about doing, like, with my, in my mind, putting myself in these, toy scenarios that I'm playing with. And that just seems like it's personified right there. I don't know. It's brief and everything, but there's such, it's cool and it's kind of gleeful. It's pretty awesome.
It's joyful, and there's also a sense of danger to it because you don't know because Mando doesn't trust this ship really, and we have to kind of grow to trust this ship. And it's also kind of a neat storytelling device of like, hey, this thing is kind of rocky, it doesn't handle well. And she's like, you're used to flying a Razor Crest. This is a starfighter. You have to treat it like that. You have to go fast in order for it to feel smooth. I was reminded of, talking about Scorsese again, I was reminded of The Aviator when Leo is taking his, ill-fated trip, through the sky and eventually through that neighborhood. It's a mixture of, scenes we've seen from the Phantom Menace, but also taking the technology and the abilities we have with the fancy camera work forward 22 years, whatever, and saying, hey, what if we reimagine that scene, but in a way that makes you feel giddy instead of just like, yes, I've seen this. But the terrible version of fan service that I'm glad that they didn't employ anywhere in this episode, not that I caught, is they unveil the N1 and then Mando is like digging through it. And wouldn't it be great if they found little Anakin Skywalker's helmet was inside there? Because, this is the special one that was flown in the Phantom Menace. Yeah. That's the kind of fan service that is all over pop culture and it makes me sick.
A little photo of Shmi or something. And the
it's a little reminiscent. I think of one day we're in the cantina where Boba beat all those guys up in the bar, and there was like Luke Skywalker's childhood friends there, and we're going, well, we don't need his childhood friends there. There's absolutely no purpose or reason to drive the plot forward to have that. I'm glad they did avoid that. I got so lost in all the technical jargon about ships and stuff like that. I didn't care. I'm just like, when is the story going to proceed? And
this was like Moby Dick for
like Tatooine.
But Mike, you mentioned the L word here, the Luke Skywalker phrase. Now we're teased Grogu very, very heavily through the extent of this episode. I miss him too. I don't know. A part of me really wants to see him because I think he's just like the cutest little thing. My family.
Yeah, I'm good with him. His stories.
I want his little Beskar tunic.
But like my folks associate. They know nothing about like my dad grew up with Star Wars, but like my folks, my mom and my sister, are like, you like the green guy? We're gonna get you stuff about the green guy. And I'm like, sure. I think that if we do see Mando seek out Grogu, as is probably imperative at this point, are we going to see Luke Skywalker again? Are we going to? Now, I think that is a boundary that we don't want to cross here. Ian, you were very skeptical on fan service, and I think that's another piece of fan service that we don't need. We saw him. We established him. We had that very intimate, very sentimental moment, Mandalorian season 2, with him, and I'm good. His story has been told and it's been done. I don't need to keep watching this to see Luke Skywalker again. I mean, Grogu, I'm all for. I think he's adorable, but like, I don't need him for the show to be good.
My concern is the way this episode ends is Fennec tracks down Mando and says, "Hey, we need some help. We need muscle." And I think the last line of the show is something to the effect of, "I've got to go see a little friend first," or something like that, which implies, yes, that Grogu might be in the next episode. Now, I would think that'd be a big mistake. I don't know how they get around this, because you're kind of expecting when episode 6 opens up, there's something to do with that. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't mind just the rest of the Boba Fett being the Mandalorian, but it just seems kind of confusing, and like we might dip into that because people loved Luke Skywalker. That was one of the things that people kind of brought the fan community together at the end of Mandalorian season 2 was Luke. So we may be in for some CGI Skywalker. I don't know, but let's take a look at some of these comments.
Yeah, hurry up here.
Boba Fett is. Go ahead. Your show.
It's his own show. The Mandalorian is a show some folks want Boba Fett to be right now. That's right. Okay. Yep. We saw the laughing.
It's a good joke.
Hey, but the
Favreau doesn't care about Book of Boba Fett. His baby is the Mandalorian. Yeah, we've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now, and I think Mark is onto something with his theory, because I think he was one of the first to bring it up. So yes, you and Mark are in agreement. Should have renamed this episode of the live stream as the Mando episode. Well, we did at the very beginning make reference to our Mandalorian series, What If He Doesn't Survive, which will return whenever Mando season 3 officially begins.
Yeah, we got backers for that. We got investors.
No,
we got backing.
Raid Shadow Legends.
No. Shadow Legends.
Shadow Legends.
Hey, I would take a sponsorship from Raid Shadow Legends. I would take any sponsorship at this point. Okay. Mando finishes his test flight, and when asked how the ship handles, he says, "Wizard," just like young Anakin.
Yes, he does. This is so wizard, Annie.
Yes. And that's, you know what? That's the only time that I've actually appreciated that, right? I thought Wizard was stupid in 1999. When Mando says it here, I'm like, I'll give you that.
I was just thinking we're back in the 90s and he wanted to read an issue of Wizards.
He's really into comics.
Gareb Sheamus.
Oh, R.A.P. Well, no, he's still alive, just dead to the comics community.
We got more. The bubble in the Starfighter will be Grogu's seat. I love it.
I almost thought that Mando would make his captives like squeeze into that little bubble pod. I'm wondering if there is. I'm wondering if there's like a hidden
PIM particles to shrink him.
There you go.
Different universe.
Using
or is
a
it?
dice on the dashboard.
Oh, we
Han
should
Solo will
just
be the final season surprise.
No.
Well, haven't we established that Ford has shot some stuff? I think.
No.
The multiverse of Star Wars.
Let Harrison Ford stay dead like he wants to be.
He hates Star Wars so much.
Hey,
just give him a break.
Then he would be perfect. He would be perfect to appear in the Book of Boba Fett.
He shot a scene for Rise of Skywalker.
We're gonna give this poor guy like an aneurysm, and it's because he's asked to return to Star Wars every 5 years. Oh my
God! Don't you mean a aneurysm? Sorry. No, I think there might be a compartment on the bottom of that N1 Starfighter. Because David, I'm with you. I was thinking, I really want to know this. Where is he going to keep the people that he goes and bounty hunts? And how big is a Razor Crest? Could the N1 dock inside the Razor Crest?
No, I don't think it's that big.
Okay.
Especially because of the wingspan of a Starfighter. Yeah. But it could be. I think the Razor Crest was a little wider than, like, I'm going to call it Slave One, but they do feel like the same kind of class ship. Obviously, one's a fire spray class warship. The other, not so much.
I'm going to ban the term fire spray from these episodes. That's just so.
Do we have like a scale?
That sounds like post Buffalo Wild Wings.
Of either of these shapes that we can compare.
There's got to be some kind of someone
sounds like a
visual thing of it.
Sounds like a bad tanning lotion or tanning spray.
Okay. Oh, the bias is showing now. Okay, Elliot, what bias are you referring to?
Bias, you say?
Bias? Not.
Bias?
Is that bias or Blas?
Blas? No, Blas was the first 4 episodes of the
Blas
show.
was the first guy Mando took care of tonight in this chapter.
Ratio Sin?
Blas Kanata. No, okay. Let's talk about some of the other things that happened in the show because we've kind of been jumping around about our feelings and all this other stuff.
Yeah, there was a show here. Like there was a show, and apparently Boba Fett's supposed to be in it.
Yeah, not this week.
anymore. No, but okay, let's talk about that. What was the name of this? The place where he was it a star base or a?
I'm calling it
colony or something?
Elysium.
Awesome.
I'm calling it
looked like-
Elysium.
It looked like Elysium, but it was kind of like this cool, like hockey stick shaped planet out in the middle.
It was
of space.
Halo. It was the Halo.
They were basically living on a ring, and it was really cool. Is they had this one like square shaped opening, so as it turns, or as the sun turns around the sun wouldn't turn around. As it turns around the sun or a nearby star, some kind of sunlight comes in. It's pretty cool.
Is it like the place Matthew McConaughey had at the end of Interstellar, where they're like right outside of Jupiter and
Could be.
like a ring?
It seemed like it, yeah.
That place was pretty all right.
Yeah,
it was.
It's an all right environment to be in.
But again, I don't know if the people who were working on this show were like, there was some kind of a deal where like, okay, we got to slog through these first 4 episodes on Tatooine, and then for episode 5 and episode 5 only, you can go hog wild. Because not only are there different locations, they're doing different stuff with Tatooine, but even this, they could have just shown up on any planet. They could have gone to Coruscant or a Coruscant style planet, but no, they chose this really interesting looking planet or space station, whatever, that you don't get a full glimpse or sense of. Again, when we leave that scene, you're like, I want to go back there. I want to learn more about what's happening and how this all works, especially with, I think, David and Anna, you were talking about when they run into the armor and that other Mandalorian, that weird like space scaffolding that they're climbing down. I don't know how that works. If Mando had fallen, would he have fallen into space, or is there like a force field holding everything together? The burning questions I want to know, but even if I don't get them, that's still enough for me. They're introduced and there's promise of more to come.
I love how he's doing the combat with the Darksaber, but like they know he has the rocket pack, so if he falls off the edge,
right.
Star Wars never has like any left, but Star Wars never has like any like safety handles on the side to like address it where he can just fly back up.
Well, that's true, but he uses the jetpack on that that catwalk fight with the other guy. I'm this is what that first or second episode of Boba Fett was missing when he got into the fight with those quote unquote like fearless assassins. Yeah, he could have just flown up above them and firebombed them from the sky.
Dude, he could have flown, grabbed Fennec's hand, picked her up with him, and then he just could have just fired rockets. Like, why am I telling Boba how to do his job? This is not right.
You just put something in my brain, Mike. What if it's not Fennec Shand? What if it's Fennec's hand?
Man, there we go.
There's a
Cheney Bush thing.
The Cheney Bush thing? What is this?
Yeah, it's like a Cheney Bush thing where Cheney's the brain and
I thought you were talking about the spelling of it. Okay, no.
So you mean Fennec's the brain? Because Boba is not a very smart guy.
Fennec
Dick Cheney made money off of the Iraq War. What did Boba Fett do?
He's gonna make
money off.
He's still trying to get respect after like 5 episodes. Yeah, he's still wandering around like, respect.
Yeah, why don't people respect
Let me tell
you?
you.
Because you hire freaking teenagers on go-karts.
The other day, I kicked a womp rat and stumbled down the street.
It's just Goodfellas with Boba Fett.
No,
someone's going to tell Boba Fett to go home and get his shine box.
Nice. I like where Fowley's going with this. The Rodney Dangerfield Boba Fett, like Boba to school. All right, fire spray. Mark your band. I said no more fire spray talk. But I'll let it slide this time.
Got some more comments there.
Do we? I can't keep up with this. This window is so small. Okay. If Luke appeared in a later episode, how should Boba Fett act? You hate it, right? Yes, I hate the idea.
Yeah, I liked it if Luke didn't appear in The Mandalorian. I agree with you partially. Like, what if it was a different Jedi? because I'm so tired of seeing Luke.
I thought it was gonna be Ezra Bridger.
I thought it was gonna be
Ooh.
Ahsoka.
I
That would've
really
been
thought
great
when
if
I
it was
saw the green saber and the black
Yeah.
robes. I was like, oh shit, it's Ezra Bridger.
Yeah,
I
he
I don't
has
know
like
who that is.
a blaster saber.
Well, you gotta watch
Amazing.
Rebels.
Oh, Ezra Bridger. He plays the
Ezra Bridger's
Flash,
in
right?
Rebels,
In
yeah.
in the new DC movies. No.
No.
Anyway,
Close.
That's Ezra Miller.
it's all right.
Are you thinking of Ezra? Yeah, you're thinking of the Flash. Yeah.
It's a terrible joke. But no, actually, this is a good question because, and this is if this were the version of Favreau that we're firing on all cylinders, like with this episode, and the rest of the Boba Fett Book of Boba Fett was as tight as this episode 5, I would love to see how Boba Fett would react to Luke Skywalker, because the last time he saw him, Luke kind of screwed up his whole day, right? That fight on the skiff and Jedi, and Boba wasn't there something involving the lightsaber, and he
that's
deflected
true.
something and
Yeah.
shot him, and that's what
Shot
messed
him in
up
his
his backpack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, blind Han hit him.
You think he'd remember that? I don't know. Probably.
That's why I was like, that's
I mean,
cool.
he spent a lot of time down there.
That's
He's
true,
probably
true.
mulling that over. You
If-
don't just
That's why
forget
he-
something like that.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're talking. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Mike.
No, Annie was talking. I interrupted. I'm sorry.
I think
Well, anyways, I was thinking he probably gets used to the gaffy stick because he got hit with a stick in the back of the jetpack. You would think that maybe he would draw a closer connection to it, which would be kind of clever. But the writers
Maybe.
of it aren't very clever. They're just like, let's make another Mandalorian episode. We don't know what to do with Boba Fett.
I mean, going back to the question, I mean, it makes me think, would I rather have another, even if it's hopefully small, brief, return of Luke again, or Harrison Ford filming scenes for Solo? Come on. I'm going to go with Luke.
yeah.
I
Me
would just
too.
rather go with neither and just give you some new characters.
Sure.
in Star Wars.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's I'm with you, Mike. I mean, I'm kind of the other thing that this episode underscored for me is that Star Wars can exist without references to the original trilogy or any of that stuff. I mean, aside from the N1 Starfighter, but that's just like a piece of hardware. It's incidental. It's turned into a cool thing that is now officially part of the show. Elliot said that Boba Fett and Mandalorian are their own shows.
Yeah.
This is something that doesn't have to be married to what has come before. I feel like we keep going back and like, hey, what if we brought back Luke, and what if we brought back Han? Like, what if we just had the Mandalorian, forget Boba Fett, going to all these different planets, I don't know, collecting bounties, seeing all strange new landscapes and getting into adventures. I think that's all we need.
Yeah.
It was friggin' Halo. That's right, Mark.
That's right.
Wish it would have been Ashoka. You're not alone. What if Book of Boba was a corporate idea and Favreau just said, "Fine, here, take this"?
I think we're pretty close. That's pretty close. I think I want to see who was it? Matt Singer from Screen Crush or something.
Screen
like that?
Crush.
Yeah, man. Like he was saying a great point where he basically just said, like, why is this show just piggybacking off of nostalgia, not telling its own thing? And that's kind of what it's doing now. It's like, okay, I think the nostalgia sort of mindset comes in within a year, and we're so like, oh, I love the Mandalorian, blah, blah, blah. Instead of building this new character, that it just made me feel off. It's like this whole episode was about anyone but Boba. When they cut to the title, The Book of Boba Fett, and it wasn't even Boba Fett there, I'm like, what?
I was like,
Well, that's a good point. I'm wondering if if Favreau is like playing the long game to try and get some execs off his back. People are saying like, oh, it's nostalgia. It's Star Wars. We paid for this license. We got to show all the old characters. People love nostalgia. Maybe he was like, okay, I'm going to give you a show that's all nostalgia and boring nonsense, and then maybe you leave me the hell alone to build my creative end of my Star Wars canon, as we see in Episode 5. Let's see. I think, to your point, Mark, Favreau just said, fine, here, take this. I think he said that to the fans when he put the Book of Boba Fett out, if you catch my drift. Makes more sense for Han to show than Luke. Yes, it does. But that doesn't mean that either should happen.
We don't need him.
I guess,
Need him.
honestly, guys, I guess when I said that I'd rather see Luke than Han, I know in my
I'd rather
mind,
see neither of them.
in my mind, I was
Mando.
thinking more of season 3 than I was this show.
Mm.
Oh,
Hey,
I
you
see.
guys want to bring
Yeah.
Cameo back?
In my mind, because this was so Mandalorian, centric, I just keep on. Oh, the next episode's got to be season 3, right? And
Dude,
so I'm imagining season 3 and not the next 2 episodes of this show.
Yeah, dude, that's all I'm thinking about. Like, what are they gonna do for season 3? I'm like, dude, bring back Mace. Have a clear antagonist. They're like,
What would he do?
Boba's like,
What would Mace
F
Windu
that
do?
guy. He killed my dad. I want to get him.
I guess. Yeah.
I mean, it's cheap, but it'll work. I'll admit it's a little cheap, but
Yeah, Mace Windu's been holding out on Tatooine for. Ah!
yeah, no, but Mace Windu still got some glass in there.
Yeah.
Maybe it'll be like one of the modders. The modders will pick him up.
No.
I don't think Mace Windu would have been. I think if it come down to either dying horribly or having to be repaired by that crew, he would have just like just make me a Force ghost, everybody.
Just don't play the stupid music when you fix me, and I'm good.
Techno. We don't need episode 1 Starfighter either.
It's right, get it.
That's who's the guy who designed that? His name's like Doug something.
Doug Chang. Great
Doug
guy.
Chang. Yeah, he's the designer on this, so they brought that back as like a love letter to him, which was cool.
Yeah.
But
Look,
man, they need to spend that much time on the engine. Like, we get it.
I loved all of the engine stuff. I thought that was really
Dope.
interesting. But I mean, it's not that much screen time. I know you said it was like 20 minutes. No, it's more like between 5 and 10.
Okay.
But it's also, there's a lot going on there. There's some comedy about like we learn a lot about kind of like the Jawa economy and their dating habits, because I feel like they spend an inordinate amount of time on Mando being impressed that the Jawas can get anything. I feel like they're planting some seeds for the future, and just this idea of like them repurposing stuff and Amy Sedaris, I'm never going to remember her character's name. Sorry. But talking
Kelly
about how,
Moto.
I'm
Hello,
Kelly Moto. Okay.
Kelly
I'll just call her Moto. She's arguing with Mandalorian, or he's kind of like, he's distrustful of this whole ship from beginning to end, rightfully so, because it's a hunk of junk, as the Falcon has been called. But he's like, where's this thing? And she's like, oh, I replaced it with this. He's like, we're never going to make this happen, and because you replaced it. He's like, oh, well, I modified this other thing to make this happen. It's a conversation that doesn't have to do just with moving the plot forward, but you get the feeling that it's contributing to the reality of this world, and that's what I really appreciate about it.
Can we kind of hit on that right there? Moving the plot forward is a key phrase. I think we haven't talked about that a lot. I think that this plot has been very stagnant. It hasn't had a lot of internal momentum, and I think without. I love the Mandalorian. I love my big shiny boy. He's wonderful. But at the same time, I think that we needed this push of excitement, and this kind of mid to late season jolt to get this up and running again. Because I don't really want to think about what the alternative episode would have been, what ideas were scrapped. Would we just be sitting in this lull and waiting for something to happen? I think that, again, if I had to choose a problem with this episode, which I really didn't have many issues with this episode, I loved this episode. I think that the number one thing is that we need to understand that we can't rely on other characters to support shows that aren't about them. If you are going to dedicate a chunk of the show and the runtime and the screen time to a supporting character in order to rejuvenate this interest and generate online conversation that is positive. I've seen besides Mike, I've seen no negative feedback about this. I really haven't. I've been scrolling through social media throughout the day and talking to friends. Later I'm going to go to a friend's dorm and watch the episode again. We're having a watch party tonight, and I'm super excited to go because I know that a lot of people are going to enjoy this, but they're going to enjoy it because it feels more like The Mandalorian than it does Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Which I think that if I had to choose a struggle, which I really can't. Again, I had a great time watching this episode, and I like that feeling that it gives him because it feels genuinely like Star Wars, and it genuinely just excites me to get into the show. It's disappointing to admit that I didn't have that excitement until now, until I had to incentivize the series for myself. and I need to incentivize the series. It's like a reward. You know, oh, if I watch next week, we're going to see more of Pedro Pascal. You know, oh, if I watch next week, oh, Grogu might show up. Oh, we might see Luke. Oh, we might see Han. You know what I mean? There's that maybe. And I don't really think about looking forward to seeing Boba Fett or Fennec Shand or the motorcycle gang or going back, you know, to these cantinas and these streets of Tatooine. It's kind of shameful that they need to rely on external media to keep that media relevant.
I'm there with you, and it's like when the episode as it wound down, and then Fennec Shand showed up. It's almost like on Sunday night when you have a really amazing dream, and then you wake up and you're like, "Shit, I have to go back to work."
I was thought you were gonna say a really amazing babysitter, and then your parents come home.
I was just thinking
wasn't gonna go there.
Oh wait, this is Boba Fett. Let's call Ming-Na Wen and have her do a few lines. Okay, it's for the Boba show. Blah, blah, blah.
It's a wake up call, especially because we kind of talked about. I know Moto is kind of an annoying personality to some, including me. This, as I mentioned, this is the first episode I really appreciated her character, but to see, and this is nothing against Ming-Na Wen as an actress. I think it's the way that she's directed and the way the character's written. When she shows up and she's like, "We need muscle," I'm like, "Oh God, here we go again."
I don't know.
It's back to the no personality, really.
No, and I think it's just they're trying. It's almost like the people who made the Book of Boba Fett weren't watching the Mandalorian, and they have this preconceived notion that in order to be like the sullen, mysterious, badass bounty hunter, you have to just talk in a bored monotone, like "I'm so over it." No one in the Mandalorian reality that we've seen is like that, and yet they're still cool and feared and fearsome. I'm not looking forward to next week because I'm again ready to be proven wrong, but I don't know that if we're going to be looping back into the Boba Fett reality, I just feel like it's a black hole of narrative charisma from which we will not escape.
It would be really interesting if they went back and forth in this episode until the last episode between Mando and Boba.
So then I would have been awake for half of episode 5. All right, so here's Mark. And you're going to try and get me, but you're not going to. Wait, you just said you wanted something new and get off Tatooine, and yet you love the Starfighter. Which is it, Mr. Simmons? It is both, Mark, because, again, we don't live in a binary world. We live in a world of grays. So I can be happy. I talked about this earlier. I don't know if you joined later or not. But when I said that in the middle of the episode, when we go back to Tatooine, I said, no. In fact, I wrote it down, big Darth Vader, no, in my notes. Because I'm like, well, shit, we're just going to reconnect with Boba Fett and it's going to get really boring. But no, they find a way to make Tatooine interesting. Something happens there that we haven't seen before, right? Life, it does find a way. And then also, I think there is, the N1 Starfighter thing is new. It is a bit of fan servicey callback, but they do something unexpected with it and something mysterious because, as David and I are wondering, where the hell is he going to put his bounties? Elliot, the show has been exploring the cultures and politics of Tatooine. Again, the Book of Boba Fett is its own show. Yes, it is a terrible show for those reasons. Mike,
that was a loud laugh. Sorry.
It sounded like a puppy nipping at your
It sounded
toes.
like you were in pain.
It sounded like you were hiking the football.
Who's that guy on David Letterman's side who was always bald? He'd be like,
Oh, Paul Schaefer.
Yeah. Paul Schaefer. Sound like Paul Schaefer. Yeah.
Okay. So
sounds like Gollum.
I think Mike was in pain because he was remembering the first 4 episodes of the Book of Boba Fett. All right. Any final thoughts as we kind of wind down here, gang?
I have news.
Yeah.
Bryce Dallas Howard will return to direct an episode of The Mandalorian Season 3.
I hope so.
Just one?
It is confirmed that she, so far, will be directing one.
Okay.
This one.
There's a solid note to subside on.
The big question, who's directing the next 2 episodes?
Is it Robert? Because unless Robert's giving me some murder porn, I don't care.
Of a cameo with
Closest you
Antonio
got to
Banderas.
murder porn was Mando with the Darksaber.
That was pretty awesome.
When he chops the one guy in half and chops the table in half. Oh my
Why
God.
is Mando more like Boba than Boba is?
But see, what's interesting too is as I was watching that, I was thinking I can't remember the last time. As I was watching that, I was thinking, I can't remember the last time we saw him let loose in a fight without Grogu by him to keep him, like, you know, protect him and not go as crazy in his fight style. But here, this is like, honestly, Grogu came at the end of episode 1, season 1, right? So we haven't really seen him, you know, totally let loose without, you know, the whole samurai dad type thing.
And he's been there the entire time. Like, these two have been bonded for the entirety of the series.
That's an excellent point. And I also, we kind of tiptoed around it, but the whole exchange with the other Mandalorians, you know, the armorer, and then that big dude, there's that whole fight for the Darksaber. And at the end of it, you know, Mando wins the Darksaber in combat, but then he loses essentially the right to be a Mandalorian. He is exiled because it comes out that he took off his helmet, and he's like, "Come on, is there no way?"
No to her.
Well, but he's a man of honor, I guess. But he's like, so how do I? Is there nothing I can do? And the armor is like, well, you can go bathe in the rivers that run beneath Mandalore. It's like those were destroyed like thousands of years ago. It's just like, what are you gonna do?
I did love the recreation of the destruction of Mandalore.
That was pretty cool.
That was
cover that.
The Night of 1,000 Tears.
But like the TIE bombers just doing their thing. Great.
This reminded me
of more of a story to that. I want to see more lore built, because immediately when Mando's like, I want to see Grogu again, I'm like, I don't want to see Grogu again. I don't want to see Boba again. I want to go to Mandalore. I want to rebuild it. I want to clean glass.
Unless Grogu is dropping bombs on the newly reconstituted Mandalore.
No, I have a question. Do you think that Grogu is going to be different at all?
It's going to be teenage Grogu. You know, like, hey, man.
Maybe like
screw you, Dad.
Reach like age 13 or something, because it took him like 50 years to be like a little baby.
All right. Okay. Hold on a second. I'm going to jump ahead to a comment because, Mark, you're still trying to get me. All right. TIE bombers, more nostalgia. Yes.
But good nostalgia.
But again, we have not seen TIE bombers do what they are doing, you know,
exactly
in this context.
Like a little meteor. And
it's not overused. This is the first time we're seeing that.
Yeah, and it's also, you see like 100 of them destroying a civilization, which speaks to the people that ordered that destruction. This is, you know, they're not like, we don't have a Death Star anymore, so it's not like we can point our giant, you know, cannon at your planet. We have to send people in. Right. People too. Like, I guess they're clones, but they're not sending droids to do this. Well, it's like a billion Nagasaki's, right?
Yeah. Something like that, yeah.
All right, so yes, Mando collects his luggage on Tatooine. How groundbreaking.
Yeah, dude. I was saying he's so dumb. He's given all of his weapons to something. I'm like, dude, they can lose your Darksaber.
I know that's a total standard like Western trope, but I remember the first time I encountered a scene like that was when I was a kid watching Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. when he checked himself into Thunderdome, they're like, weapons, and the whole scene takes forever, and he grabs his ankle knife, and all this stuff. It's good.
Well, here's the thing: nothing happens with this. It's sort of a bit of funny business about like TSA stuff, but there's a possibility that this comes back narratively somewhere down the line, because he puts the Darksaber. He has, in order to get on this transport, he has to check all of his weapons. This is kind of funny because like he's all weapons. He says, I'm a Mandalorian. Weapons are a religion, right? Yeah. He puts them in this case that is then checked onto the ship. What if there's some kind of a tracking or some kind of an ID to identify what's in that case, and someone learns there's the Darksaber in there, and that sets, you know, wheels in motion to track down the Mandalorian, which might have repercussions for Boba Fett. I mean, it's a funny bit of business, but there's still an idea in there that could pay off, you know, later and be like, how did you find me? Oh, well, we've got eyes on every transport in this galaxy.
Yeah. Which would be a funny way. Like, it'd be a very Marvel way where it's like, you did this silly thing and we caught you. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Tamora Morrison tried to change Boba Fett's form, but Jon Favreau didn't listen to his suggestions until the protagonist realized something was wrong. Oh, is this going back to the whole thing about Boba Fett talking too much? That he was that story came out last week that he had too much dialogue, and Favreau was like, "No, you say it all." Yeah. I agree. It's
like, no, you're not.
Yeah, I think we talked about this briefly last week.
I don't know if I hallucinated that because that episode was so bad.
Oh yes. So
I mean, I was pretty high when I saw it, so who knows?
You gotta
I took
be.
it on the air.
Back to the RPG format of the Mandalorian. I am not hip with the kids. Every time I see RPG, I don't think role-playing game. I think rocket propelled grenade. I feel like I'm stuck in Commando land or something. And I am wearing underpants. Okay, we did that.
Okay.
Very quiet. David is hunting rabbit. Okay, so Elliot, you've run out of legit criticisms. You're attacking people's appearance. No, sorry. Let's see.
They should be calling me a hippie then or something.
Don't open yourself up for that criticism.
Oh, it's okay. We're in a comedy club and you should.
So there you go. Gotta have thick skin. Who knew that many armies of Iron Giants in Star Wars? Yes, Mark. Again, I feel like you showed up late to the show. We talked about the.
We need to read all his comments like Gilbert Gottfried.
You know,
knew that not all Iron Giants?
You know that scene when Mandalorian was on a Rancor?
A droid walks into a cantina. No.
Yeah.
What do you call it? The aristocrats. No, okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're down to Gilbert Gottfried impressions. I think it's time to close out this show, guys. All right. So, any final closing thoughts?
Every shot is.
Do we want Mando to meet up with Grogu in this show?
No.
Not this show. No.
I don't want him to meet up with Grogu in any show unless some shit happens to Grogu.
Regardless, do you think it'll happen?
Yes.
Yeah, it's gonna be fan service.
They already said it.
Yeah.
Why else would he make the little journey with his little Grogu-shaped bundle? Like it was the ears on the tie. It was too reminiscent.
I know.
My guy was so deep in his feels. He really wants to see his child again. My poor, sexy single father.
Okay.
Look, unless the only way I think they can salvage this is because he does mention that he's got to go stop by and see his little friend before he can help Boba Fett. If episode 6 opens up with Boba Fett and Fennec like collaborating or recruiting other bounty hunters, and then Mando shows up in the N1 and he lands and
he kills them all.
No, he's just like, thanks, I had to go take care of that thing. So whatever he does with Grogu, we don't see.
That'd be fine. Yeah, if it was implied, that'd be fine.
Then we can get back to regular boring Boba Fett. All right. So Annie, you were going to say something a minute ago. What was it?
Oh no, I was just going to say that compared to the visual aesthetics of the show so far, I was very visually drawn to this one for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
I think that there was a lot of consideration done with how the framing and the cinematic appeal was given. You know, I know I've noted this a couple of times before, but with only very specific scenes. With this one, I think that there was a lot of attention paid to color grading and staging and framing, and really just attention poured over how everything was shot. Even when you could kind of tell that it was where the Mandalorians are battling on the catwalk. Like, okay, cool. I can tell that this is CG. It still looks nice. It still looks really neat. Mm-hmm. You know, scrolling through a lot of my Twitter feed right now is GIFs and stills and all that good stuff. And a lot of it is raw because of how cleanly this show is shot, or this episode is shot. And I haven't really seen that celebrated before throughout any of the episodes. I haven't seen a lot of people go back and go, man, Boba Fett is really, appreciating what it has to work with, especially with technology like the volume that we have known has been employed by Lucasfilm and Disney for their last couple of projects, I believe, and they're going to keep using it. It's just nice to see how seamless they're using this technology and how what it can achieve.
Yeah,
I was going to mention
Unreal technology is something that common filmmakers can use now, and we're literally living in the future where the tectonic shift has really multiplied since the iPhone, and now you can literally make movies with visual effects that look believable on your laptop for the consumer. And that's how
Chloe Zhao made Eternals, right?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it looks like it. I mean, it was
nice.
Chloe Zhao being like, "Oh, that's good enough," and then she just like smoked another blunt while she was like on set or something.
Guys,
listen. Okay, I will say this one thing because I forgot to mention it earlier, and it's picking up on something Annie had said. I remember one of the cool things I liked about Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2 was this feeling that I'm watching television. This is something part of the commentary when those seasons came out. I'm watching television, but I feel like I could be watching this in a movie theater. I feel like I want to be watching this in a movie theater. I got that feeling during this episode. I'm like, damn, why isn't this in IMAX somewhere?
Yeah.
That would be
You
cool.
don't want to see it in IMAX because you'll definitely notice what's wrong with the visual effects then.
Not if I'm really high. Anyway, okay, so
No, you'll notice it even more. But yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to close this out with Pedanato Petit. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Nato.
Okay.
What's the
What score would you give the episode? I think this is a perfect note to end
Well,
on.
I'm partial
We
to
even
the
done
John
this
Williams
before. Here
score.
for it.
Nice, not John Williams. You know.
Oh.
Okay, let's go around the table, the virtual table.
Are we?
Out of 10,
Oh, okay.
what score would you give this episode?
6.5 out of 10, maybe 7.
All right. Wait, just for comparison, what would you give the first 4 episodes of Mando?
7 would episode 2 would be an 8. Episode 1 would be a 4. Episode 3 would be a 2. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Some improvement there. David, you?
I give this one, for doing out of 10, solid 7.
Okay. Annie?
I liked it. I give it an 8. I between a 7.5 and an 8, just because I'm more sentimentally attached to this one because it gave me what I wanted to see. If I did set my bias aside, it would definitely be a 7.
Okay. Let's see. Yes, Mark, we had to ask. And yes, the score from
Number
the person
9?
who asked, yes, is number 9. Yes.
Number 9.
Classic Beatles reference. My score out of 10, 25.
Wow.
Let me do the math.
Wow.
Yeah.
Possible.
I
I love
that fraction.
I love this. No, I can't. My son could because he's like a math genius. All right. 7.5 out of 5. Mark, I love it.
Thanks, Mark.
You are scored like
Russian
judges.
Elliot.
Thank
Okay.
you,
This has been
We must break you.
This has been the Boba Fett Book Club for Chapter 5, The Return of the Mandalorian, which I think, ironically, they titled it based on what the fans have just been waiting for, The Return of the Mandalorian TV series.
It feels like the writers do it, like have Robert halfway through Robert Rodriguez is like, I didn't imagine it would go this way.
We've heard your complaints.
Just call it The Return of the Mandalorian. I hate this. And he's just crying.
If you told me 25 years ago that someday I'd be thinking, my God, please don't let Robert Rodriguez direct something else. Wow.
I know.
All
I
right.
don't think it's his fault. I think it's someone else's fault.
I do too.
I don't
I'll
know
shift the
who.
blame.
I don't know who.
I got
I'm
some
not-
ideas.
I'm
All
not
right.
gonna
I
speak
have.
up. I'm thinking
that?
of it. I'm not going to it could be someone else. I feel like Kathleen's not touching anything because they just told her to fuck off at a certain point. But yeah.
Maybe. All right. So this is Ian Simmons from Kicking the Seat. We have Annie Banks of Chuckload of Comics and Movie Web, Mike Crowley of 25 Years Later, and you'll probably agree, and David Fowley of Keeping It Real. We have all of our lovely and talented chat guest participants. Thank you for chiming in, and thank you for watching out there. And if you're catching this later on the rerun, feel free to drop a comment in anyway as far as what you want us to talk about next week. Mark, I'm going to let this be the last comment. You all rock. Yes, we do. And so do you, sir. Thank you. But yeah, we'll be back here next week, 8:30 p.m. Central time, live, talking about the Book of Boba Fett, Chapter 6. We're only 2 episodes away from the big, quote-unquote, big finale.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, if you like this content, please like and subscribe to the Kicking the Seat YouTube channel. Check out all of my guests, lovely and talented works, my lovely and talented guests and all their great works in the descriptions down below, including that movie web piece that Annie wrote about Last Jedi. It's sure to spark some awesome conversation. If you disagree with it, shame on you.
Come to me directly and we'll fight.
Yeah. Show up next
go to
week.
the
There'll be a
bathroom.
mob of 5,000 people.
This is a direct call out to Elliot. Show up next week and we will talk it out.
Ooh, we might have to do a special episode. The gauntlet has been thrown down. Oh, yes, and thank you. You have an excellent director.
The Darksaber must be won in battle.
Thank you. Yeah,
you
yes, I'll come up. I'll buy a Darksaber replica and we'll award it to whoever.
Have
All
you
right.
seen the
Well,
movie
cut
where
yourself.
someone orders a
Man, I don't
Darksaber
know
off
if y'all wanna do
Amazon and they
that.
get a the Amazon guy?
No, I would buy a real life Darksaber and a nice replica, so I don't need to be spending that ton of money. I'm going to stop thinking about it. All right, let's go off to our respective corners and think about next week's episode, I'm placing bets on heavy shoulders, heavier expressions, and disappointment. But, I am somewhat hopeful. Good night, everybody. Thank you, and catch you later.